On the 20th move Mr. Shable advanced a knight when he shouldn't have, and Beth was able to get a pawn to the 6th rank. He brought the knight back. It was a wasted move and she felt a thrill when she saw him do it. She traded her bishop for the knight. Then, on the next move, she pushed the pawn again. It would become a queen on the next move. He looked at it sitting there and then reached out angrily and toppled his king. Neither of them said anything. It was her first win. All of the tension was gone, and what Beth felt inside herself was as wonderful as anything she had ever felt in her life. She found she could miss lunch on Sundays, and no one paid any attention. That gave her 3 hours with Mr. Shable, until he left for home at 2:30. They did not talk, either of them. He always played the white pieces, moving first, and she the black. She had thought about questioning this but decided not to. One Sunday, after a game he had barely managed to win, he said to her, "You should learn the Sicilian defense." "What's that?" she asked irritably. She was still smarting from the loss. She had beaten him 2 games last week. When white moves pawn to queen 4, black does this. He reached down and moved the white pawn 2 squares up the board, his almost invariable first move. Then he picked up the pawn in front of the black queen's bishop and set it down 2 squares up toward the middle. It was the first time he had ever shown her anything like this. "Then what?" she said. He picked up the king's knight and set it below and to the right of the pawn. Knight to kb3. "What's kb3? King's bishop 3. Where I just put the knight. The squares have names?" He nodded impassively. She sensed that he was unwilling to give up even this much information. "If you play well, they have names." She leaned forward. "Show me." He looked down at her. "No. Not now. Now." This infuriated her. She understood well enough that a person likes to keep his secrets. She kept hers. Nevertheless, she wanted to lean across the board and slap his face and make him tell her. She sucked in her breath. "Is that the Sicilian defense?" He seemed relieved that she had dropped the subject of the names of the squares. "There's more," he said. He went on with it, showing her the basic moves and some variations. But he did not use the names of the squares. He showed her the Levenfish variation and the Najdorf variation and told her to go over them. She did, without a single miss. When they played a real game afterward, he pushed his queen's pawn forward, and she could see immediately that what he had just taught her was useless in this situation. She glared at him across the board, feeling that if she had had a knife, she could have stabbed him with it. Then
she looked back to the board and moved her own queen's pawn forward, determined to beat him. He moved the pawn next to his queen's pawn, the one in front of the bishop. He often did this. "Is that one of those things? Like the Sicilian defense?" she asked. "Openings." He did not look at her, he was watching the board. "Is it?" He shrugged. "The Queen's Gambit." She felt better. She had learned something more from him. She decided not to take the offered pawn, to leave the tension on the board. She liked it like that. She liked the power of the pieces, exerted along files and diagonals. In the middle of the game, when pieces were everywhere, the forces crisscrossing the board thrilled her. She brought out her king's knight, feeling its power spread. In 20 moves she had won both his rooks, and he resigned. She rolled over in bed, put a pillow over her head to block out the light from under the cord, and began to think how you could use a bishop and a rook together to make a sudden check on the king. If you moved the bishop, the king would be in check, and the bishop would be free to do whatever it wanted to on the next move, even take the queen. She lay there for quite a while, thinking excitedly of this powerful attack. Then she took the pillow off and rolled over on her back and made the chessboard on the ceiling and played over all her back and made the chessboard on the ceiling and played over all her games with Mr. Shable, one at a time. She saw 2 places where she might have created the rook-bishop situation she had just invented. In one of them she could have forced it by a double threat, and in the other she could probably have sneaked it in. She replayed those 2 games in her mind with the new moves, and won them both. She smiled happily to herself and fell asleep. The arithmetic teacher gave the eraser cleaning to another student, saying that Beth needed a rest. It wasn't fair, because Beth still had perfect grades in arithmetic, but there was nothing she could do about it. She sat in class when the little red-haired boy went out of the room each day with the erasers, doing her meaningless additions and subtractions with a trembling hand. She wanted to play chess more desperately every day. On Tuesday and Wednesday she took only one pill and saved the other. On Thursday she was able to go to sleep after playing chess in her mind for an hour or so, and she saved the day's 2 pills. She did the same thing on Friday. All day Saturday, doing her work in the cafeteria kitchen, and in the afternoon during the Christian movie in the library and the personal improvement talk before dinner, she could feel a little glow whenever she wanted to, knowing that she had 6 pills in her toothbrush hole.
That night, after lights out, she took them all, one by one, and waited. The feeling, when it came, was delicious, a kind of easy sweetness in her belly and a loosening in the tight parts of her body. She kept herself awake as long as she could to enjoy the warmth inside her, the deep chemical happiness. On Sunday, when Mr. Schabel asked where she had been, she was surprised that he cared. "They wouldn't let me out of class," she said. He nodded. The chessboard was set up, and she saw to her surprise that the white pieces were facing her side and that the milk crate was already in place. "Do I move first?" she said, incredulous. "Yes. From now on we take turns. It's the way the game should be played." She seated herself and moved the king's pawn. Mr. Schabel wordlessly moved his queen bishop's pawn. She hadn't forgotten the moves. She never forgot chess moves. He played the lionfish variation. She kept her eyes on his bishop's command of the long diagonal, the way it was waiting to pounce. And she found a way to neutralize it on the 17th move. She was able to trade her own, weaker bishop for it. Then she moved in with her knight, brought a rook out, and had him mated in 10 more moves. It had been simple, merely a matter of keeping her eyes open and visualizing the ways the game could go. The checkmate took him by surprise. She caught the king on the back rank, reaching her arm all the way across the board and setting the rook crisply on the mating square. "Mate," she said levelly.
Mr. Schabel seemed different today. He did not scowl as he always did when she beat him. He leaned forward and said, "I'll teach you chess notation." She looked up at him. "The names of the squares. I'll teach you now." She blinked. "Am I good enough now?" He started to say something and stopped. "How old are you, child?" 8. 8 years old. He leaned forward, as far as his huge paunch would permit. "To tell you the truth of it, child, you are astounding." She did not understand what he was saying. "Excuse me." Mr. Schabel reached down on the floor for a nearly empty pint bottle. He tilted his head back and drank from it. "Is that whiskey?" Beth asked. "Yes, child. And don't tell." "I won't," she said. "Teach me chess notation." He set the bottle back on the floor. Beth followed it for a moment with her eyes, wondering what whiskey would taste like and what it would feel like when you drank it. Then she turned her gaze and her attention back to the board with its 32 pieces, each exerting its own silent force. Sometime in the middle of the night she was awakened. Someone was sitting on the edge of her bed. She stiffened. "Take it easy," Jolene whispered. "It's only me." Beth said nothing, just lay there and waited. "Thought you might like trying something fun," Jolene said. She reached a hand under the sheet and laid it gently on Beth's belly. Beth was on her back. The hand stayed there, and Beth's body remained on her back. The hand stayed there, and Beth's body remained still.